We all know that losing someone we love is incredibly hard, but being there for someone who's grieving can be really tough too. Sometimes it's hard to know what to say. We don't want to say the wrong thing, but we want to be there for our friends and loved ones. The truth is, there are some things you should never say to someone who is grieving, even if you mean well. In this video, we're going to talk about 12 common phrases that can actually be hurtful to someone who's grieving, even if you're just trying to be supportive. And more importantly, I'm going to share some more helpful things you can say instead. Remember, everyone grieves differently, and there's no right or wrong way to process loss. The most important thing is to be there for your loved one with compassion, understanding, and a whole lot of love. But when someone is grieving, saying "I know how you feel" can actually minimize their pain. Even if you've experienced a similar loss, everyone grieves in their own unique way. Their relationship with the person they lost was unique and special to them. And honestly, sometimes we don't even know how we feel when we're grieving, let alone how someone else feels. Instead of saying, "I know how you feel," try something like, "I can only imagine how hard this must be for you." This lets them know you care without comparing your experience to theirs. You're acknowledging their pain without minimizing it or making it about you. We want the grieving person to find some peace. We want to offer words of comfort, but telling someone who's grieving that the person they lost is in a better place can actually be really dismissive of their pain. They're not focused on where their loved one is. They're hurting because that person isn't with them anymore. They're missing the person they lost, and that's completely natural. Instead of trying to offer comfort with this phrase, try simply acknowledging their loss and their pain with something like, "I'm so sorry for your loss. They meant so much to you." Even if the person lived a long and happy life, it doesn't diminish the pain of losing them. Grief is grief. It hurts. Telling someone at least they lived a long life can make them feel like they're not allowed to grieve as deeply because of it, or that their grief isn't valid. Instead of trying to find a silver lining, just be there with them in their pain. Try saying something like, "I know they meant the world to you." This simple statement acknowledges the depth of their loss without trying to rationalize it. Oh, this one is tough. It's so tempting to try to make sense of loss, especially when it's sudden or tragic. But telling someone everything happens for a reason can feel incredibly insensitive and dismissive. When someone is grieving, they're not looking for a reason. They're simply trying to cope with the immense pain of their loss. What possible reason could there be for their loved one to be gone? This statement minimizes their pain and can even make them feel angry. Instead of trying to explain the unexplainable, just be present with them. Offer your support without judgment. "I'm here for you. Whatever you need" speaks volumes and lets them know you're there for them. Okay, so this one's tricky because it comes from a good place. We want our friends to find comfort and peace, right? But telling someone who's grieving that the person they lost wouldn't want them to be sad can actually have the opposite effect. It can make them feel guilty for experiencing their very real, very valid grief. Their loved one wouldn't want them to be sad, but that doesn't take the pain away. Instead of trying to police their emotions, encourage them to allow themselves to feel whatever it is they're feeling. Just let them know it's okay to be sad. Try something like, "It's okay to feel however you're feeling right now. There's no right or wrong way to grieve." Now, while this statement might offer some comfort to people, it's usually said to comfort the person saying it, not the person who is grieving. While it acknowledges the end of their loved one's suffering, it completely disregards and minimizes the grieving person's pain. They may be relieved that their loved one is no longer suffering, but that doesn't mean their grief suddenly disappears. They're still hurting. Instead of focusing on the end of their loved one's suffering, let them know that you're there to support them through grief and their pain. "I'm here to support you through this difficult time" lets them know that you see them and you care. Telling someone they're strong while they're grieving can actually put pressure on them to suppress their true emotions. While it can seem like a compliment, it can also feel like they're being told to hide their grief. to put on a brave face for others. Instead of praising their strength, which can feel overwhelming, let them know it's okay to not be okay, and that it's okay to lean on others for support. Try saying something like, "It's okay to lean on others right now. I'm here for you." This phrase can be really dismissive. While time can certainly help to soften the edges of grief, it doesn't erase the loss. And for someone who's in the throes of grief, hearing this can make it seem like their pain is being minimized or dismissed. Instead of putting a timeline on their grief, remind them that you're there for them, for as long as it takes. Something like, "I'm here for you, no matter how long it takes," can be incredibly comforting. If their loved one was ill for a long time, this phrase can feel incredibly dismissive. It suggests that the loss was somehow meant to be, and that there's no point in grieving. But grief doesn't work that way. There's no right or wrong way to feel. Instead of trying to explain the loss, just listen. Sometimes the best thing you can do is simply be a shoulder to cry on and an ear to listen. Try saying, "This must be incredibly hard for you. I'm here to listen." Telling someone who's grieving the loss of a loved one that they'll find someone else or that they can have more children is incredibly insensitive. Grief is not about replacement. It's about processing the loss of someone irreplaceable. Instead of trying to minimize their loss, validate their grief. Let them know you understand that their loss is immeasurable. Something like, "Your loss is unimaginable, and I'm here with you," can offer a sense of support and understanding. While some people find comfort in their faith during times of loss, others might question their beliefs or even feel angry. Telling someone that their loss is part of God's plan can feel dismissive, especially if they're struggling with their faith. Just remember, everyone processes grief differently, and their beliefs are deeply personal. Instead of trying to provide spiritual explanations, just offer your support and let them know you're thinking of them. Try saying something like, "I'm keeping you in my thoughts, and I'm here if you need anything." Grief has no timeline, and there's no right or wrong way to process loss. Telling someone to move on suggests that their grief is somehow misplaced, or that they've been grieving for too long. Everyone grieves at their own pace. Instead of rushing them, let them know that you're there for them, wherever they are in their grief journey. "I'm here with you." Wherever you are in this process, can offer a sense of comfort and support without judgment. Just be there. Listen to them. Let them cry, let them vent, let them tell the same stories over and over. Just listen with an open and compassionate heart. Sometimes the most comforting words are the simplest. "I don't have the right words, but I'm here for you. I'm thinking of you and sending love. I'm just a call away if you need to talk or need anything at all. Please let me know how I can support you during this time." Remember, your presence and your understanding are the greatest gifts you can give.